Every Franklinite down in Franklin likes kindness a lot, but the Grinch that lived just north of Franklin did not. The Grinch hated kindness the whole kindness season. Now please don't ask why, no one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be perhaps that his shoes were too tight. But I think the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his height, he stood there the night before the week of kindness, hating the Franklinites, staring down from his home with a Grinchy frown at the warm-lighted Franklin school below in their town. But he knew every Franklinite down in Franklin beneath was busy now hanging many kindness posters and wreaths. And they're passing out kindness things, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is kindness week. It's practically here. Then he growled, with his Grinchy fingers nervously drumming. I must find some way to stop kindness week from coming. For tomorrow, he knew, all the Franklin boys and girls would awake bright and early. They'd rush for their kindness joys. And then, oh the noise, oh noise, noise, noise. That's one thing he hated, the noise, noise, noise. Then the Franklinites, young and old, would be extra kind to each other. And they'd say nice things, be good and help one another. They would help a teacher, a friend, or a foe. And soon enough, kindness would spread and increase, which was something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. And then they'd do something he liked least of all. Every Franklinite down at Franklin, the tall and the small, would gather together and be kind as can be. They'd sit in the auditorium, and the Franklinites would start cheering with glee. And the more the Grinch thought about this Franklin Kindness Week, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this kindness streak. Why, for 103 years I've put up with it now. I must stop the kindness week from coming. But how? Then he got an idea, an awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do, the Grinch laughed like a bad guy. He made a Mr. Giacchi costume with a suit and tie. And he chuckled and clucked. What a great Grinchy trick. With this suit and this tie, I look like their principal. Sick! All I need is a Franklin ram. The Grinch looked around, but since rams were scarce, and there was none to be found, did that stop the old Grinch? No, the Grinch simply said, if I can't find a ram, I'll make one instead. So he called his dog Wags, then he took some red thread, and he tied 2 big horns to the top of his head. Then he loaded some backpacks and some old empty garbage bags on a ramshackle bus, and he hitched up old Wags. Then the Grinch said, giddy up, and the gears started turning toward the school where the Franklinites were quietly learning. All the classrooms were quiet, soft giggles filled the air. All the Franklinites were all happy and learning to care. This is the stop, the old Grinch hissed, and he climbed up the stairs, empty garbage bags in his fists. Then he slid down the hallway in a rather tight pinch. But if Mr. Giorgi could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once for a moment or two. Then he stuck his head into classroom 102, where the little Franklinite backpacks all hung in a row. These backpacks, he grinned, are the first thing to go. Then he slithered and stunk, with a smile most cruel, around the whole room, and he took every glue, papers, pencils, crayons, and chairs, Sharpies, blocks, markers, and every toy bear. Then he stuffed them in the bags. Then the Grinch and his bay stuffed all the bags, one by one, down the hallway. Then he slunk to another classroom, where he took the Franklinites' kindness things. He took the kindness change. He took the kindness bracelets and rings. He cleaned out the room as quick as a flash, while the Grinch even took every last mustache. Then he stuffed all the things down the hallway with glee. And now, Grinch the Grinch, I will steal the kindness wish tree. And the Grinch grabbed the tree, and he started to shove, when he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Franklinite daughter, who had left her class for a drink of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and
Mr. Giacchi, why? Why are you taking our kindness sweet tray?
But you know that old Grinch was so smart and so slick. He thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick. Why, my little tot, the fake Mr. Giacchi lied. There's a kindness wish paper missing on one side. So I'm taking it to the principal's office, my dear. I'll fix it up there, then I'll bring it back here. And this fib for the child. Then he patted her head, and he got her juice pack, and he sent her to Mrs. Black's. And the next thing he took was the 8th grade skip props. Then he went down the hallway with all the school laptops. And the one speck of kindness that he left in the school was a speck of kindness paper even smaller than a jewel. Then he did the same thing to the other Franklinite classrooms, leaving specks of paper much too small to be swept up by a broom. It was 1:15, no one around to make a fuss. All the Franklinites still learning when he packed up his bus. Packed it up with the backpacks, the glue in the chairs, and the books, the pencils, and all of the bears. Pooh-pooh to the Franklinites, he was grinchiously humming. They'll find out now that their no kindness week is coming. Soon they'll see that kindness is dumb. I know just what they'll do. The Franklinites down in Franklin will all cry boo-hoo. There's a noise, the Grinch grinned the Grinch, that I simply must hear. So he paused and the Grinch put his hand to his ear. And he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, but then it started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, this sound sounded happy. It couldn't be so, but it was so happy. He stared down at the Franklin school. The Grinch popped his eyes. Then he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every Franklinite down in Franklin, the tall and the small, was acting with kindness to each other and to all. He hadn't stopped Kindness Week from coming. It came, somehow or other. It just came the same. And the Grinch with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow stood and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without kindness chains. It came without mustaches. It came without the kindness tree, kindness bracelets, or celebratory bashes. And he puzzled for hours till his puzzle was sore, and the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Kindness Week, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Kindness Week, perhaps, means a little more. But what happened then? Well, in Franklin they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite this tight, he whizzed and his load through the bright morning light. He brought back the kindness things, and his meanness was gone, and he himself was very kind from then on.